What is up, people? The road to 100k a month, episode 10. And this week, if there was a way I could summarize it, bro, I got my ass fucking handed to me, bro. I really got my ass handed to me. And if you really ask me, Jake, do you want to record this video right now and go over everything in detail? Absolutely not. Am I gonna do it? Am I doing it? Yes. Because I promised myself every single Sunday you guys will see an episode of the progress and the journey that I go through. And yeah, man, everything from losing passing evals, everything from blowing multiple sets of evals, everything from lessons I ended up taking away from the end of the week, which were actually pretty valuable. And in general, I could very much, in summary, I can make the reasons why I think it was a bad week all over. I can also make plenty of reasons why it was a good week. And if I really was to choose between one or the other, there's no point in choosing the bad. I'm going to take the gold and keep it stepping. But we'll begin with Monday, or as tradition. Now, as tradition, this week, I have not taken any funded account trades. This week was solely for passing my evals. And obviously, we'll go over every single trade and how I ended up going about passing my evals and blowing evals. But we didn't take any funded trades. So really, I don't want to show a P&L, or at least it's not valuable if I do, but I didn't take the dashboards from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but on Monday, I think we ended up blowing the accounts. So we just maxed, I think it was like a 2.7k loss. Tuesday, Wednesday was a 1.5k day, and I'll put up on the screen on my Tradeify accounts, which ended up being blown as well, but 1,000 on the first on Thursday, and then we blew it 2,000 on Friday. So pretty rough fucking week, but there isn't really a P&L I can show because they were all pretty much eval trades. My objective was I passed to 5 evals and 5 accounts, and I'm already funded, but I haven't decided to still take a trade on them. I want to personally get to 10 accounts. At least that's my thinking, but we'll go over everything in this video. Starting with Monday. So my bias was we sandwiched between 2 4-hour gaps. We were 4-hour continuing on a downtrend, but could see a breaker structure happening. We broke past the 4-hour bearish gap from Friday, but still another one above. 1-hour bullish gap pre-market, 4-hour V-shaped recovery, 1-hour uptrend following, good draws of liquidity to the both sides. Staying open-minded could be an interesting session. And as for the first trade, pretty much tagged and failed to truly break through the 1-hour bullish gap with conviction. We had a 5-minute and a 15-minute V-shaped recovery from the 1-hour gap, and then we fell back into a bullish uptrend. Bullish on all time frames, respected and inversed the 5-minute gap from earlier, breaker structure to the upside, and that's when I decided to enter. That ended up being a break-evens and a partials as far as I know, but definitely a break-even. I think I did take some partials, but that was the case there. Second trade, and just for reference, I'm going to try and go through these as quick, as swiftly as possible, because the amount of trades we took was just abnormal, bro. And that's why I'll have some more takeaways about what I think about evals and my strategies and points going forward and lessons that I've taken away from it. But the second trade, as far as I can see here, we ended up switching. We went to the bearish aspect. So we started tanking. We broke past the 15-minute bullish gap. We broke past the 1-hour pre-market gap, breaker structure on the high time frame, and then we formed the 15-minute BPR and inversed to the downside. Entered, once again, break even, and I think I did take partials there as well. And then for the third setup, I think I just lost my fucking mind, bro. I don't know what I was doing. I think I risked the whole fucking thing, bro. I put 200 micros, same setup, and recap, accounts blown. So even if evals should trail, and then this is what one of my lessons for evals. I trade, and this is why I'm also not the most angriest at blowing so many evals this week and being how it's turned out. Because I don't like to take time on evals. I try and pass them as quick as possible, meaning I analyze what my consistency rate and I analyze how quick enough can I pass it. On Lucid, for example, it's a 50% consistency rate, meaning you can pass that shit in 2 days. That's what my objective. On Tradeify, as we ended up doing towards the end of the week, it's a 40% consistency rate. And that's at maximum, it's 3 days to be able to pass in a quick enough time frame. So I aim for 3. And what I ended up realizing is I don't take partials when I take my eval trades. I either try and go for my full TP or I don't, or it hits my stop loss. And I think the lesson I learned my strategy, even when I'm unfunded, I rely bigly, as far as like on my strategy, bigly. Is that even a fucking word? But I rely massively on taking partials, even if it's a little bit above, and moving my break even. And me personally, I'm fine with taking those trades. And what's ended up happening on my eval trades is sometimes I'll hit my points, but I'm not trailing my profits. I'm just letting, and at that point, I'm just fucking up my trades. So as of, I think my reflection moving forward from Monday was that I would begin to start trailing my positions. And instead of taking contracts out of my positions, I would just move my break even to a higher level. And that's my definition as far as my evals on how I'm going to be trailing my accounts. But I also mentioned here, I'm not going to blame myself for multiple trades for evals. Once again, I don't take evals seriously. I guess a lot of people might have different psychology differences, but for me, evals are like your fat bitches, bro. You just don't care, bro. It's like, it is what it is, bro, and I personally don't put that much emphasis on it. But thoughts, it hurt. But need to get used to blowing evals quicker the better. Once again, mentioning the fact that the more quicker I can get through them, the quicker I can get to more accounts, the better, and just the more efficient. Now going into Tuesday, I will also say I'm acting pretty nonchalant, but I think Monday was pretty a bad day. I'm not gonna lie, bro. And I think going into Tuesday, my mindset really was like, I shouldn't let the day before ruin it, and it's the start of the fucking week. Let's keep it stepping, bro. Let's not get pushed off our game, bro. Like, let's keep it stepping. And funny enough, in the morning, I'll put up the screenshot, but I saw a post from Gary Vee, and I have it pulled up here on my phone, but it was, don't fuck up today because you're mad about yesterday. And it's funny how the universe works, and it literally showed me that in the morning. And I thought I'd pull it up to you guys because I think it's true. I think it's super easy to just get discouraged from a previous day, but as I mentioned at the start of the video, the way I look at it, a lot of situations is that you can find all the reasons why they're bad and why a situation is bad and why your circumstances are bad, but you can surely as fuck find the good reasons, find the positives, take the lessons, take the gold, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I tried to do. And another thing I saw on Tuesday was the 16-year-old Monaco billionaire, bro. For most of you guys, probably have seen the clips of this guy and the father. It's the founders of Aviator, the casino game. And it was this Monaco 16-year-old billionaire, bro, and his father. And for me, what I took away from it was like, bro, that is motion, bro. And there's one thing I took away from being in Dubai, and that is seeing money and that is seeing abundance in real time, which is why I believe I'm even making a series like the Road to 100K a month, and I truly believe I can get to that point. But there's just different levels, bro. Like, I saw this kid, bro, he had like $30 to $40 million in watches. He had a $6 million Euro Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport. A $6 million fucking, I think it was I don't know what it was, a hypercar, bro. I think it was, I forgot. I don't think it was a Koenigsegg. It might have been a Koenigsegg. It might have been. But it was nuts, bro. And I looked at that and I'm like, holy fucking shit, bro. There is so much motion, and for whatever you think is big enough in this world, trust me, bro, you can think bigger, bro. You can imagine bigger. You can dream bigger, because there's just different levels. And I think it was really good that I was able to see that in real life, because I think that was like the first time I've ever seen true motion. And I'm talking like, bro, it was nuts. But I thought I'd mention it to you guys because, once again, it should be a reminder that if anybody else on this earth can do something, then by all means you can as well. It is there for the taking. And pre-session, going into the pre-session, as I'm speaking about cars, pre-session, realized that I need to be more unemotional and truly stoic. I've realized as well, when I go into evals, as much as I don't care about them, there's still part of me that has a bit of an emotional attachment towards hitting my TPs and stop losses, even more so than my funded. Like, I don't care if I blow them, but it's when I'm mid-trade is when for some reason I do care. And I think I realized going into Tuesday, I just need to be more stoic about it and more unemotional. So I put that as my reminder. And as far as our buys, we had a 1 hour bullish BPR gap formed and respected multiple times in Asia and London session. We had a 4 hour bearish gap from Friday still on the chart. Yesterday's session was remained respected. It was a key zone, 4 hour clear uptrend, 1 hour not quite following suit yet. Good draws of liquidity to both sides, staying open-minded till market opens. Now straight off the rip, we were bullish. 15-minute gap formed pre-market, 5-minute gap formed, 5-minute plus a 15-minute V-shaped recovery, continuing bullish trend on all time frames. Another 5-minute gap formed, entered. Thoughts, I generally felt, I felt like an unprofitable chud. That's my thoughts that I put in there. I don't know why I wrote that, bro. I think it was just FOMO. I think I remember doing this. And it was just, that's exactly what it was, bro. So this is where, yeah, I mean, I put there, I felt like an unprofitable chud. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. I literally, as soon as I entered, bro, I was literally exit liquidity, bro. Bro, this is so fucking painful to analyze, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Trade number 2, we started dumping. We broke past the 5-minute and inversed. We waited to break past the 15-minute for full confirmation, and then we had executed. We had good draws of liquidity at the BPR gap, and we ended up executing. And that was a much better fucking trade, bro. So we ended up accomplishing our target, and then that was a 2.17 risk to reward trade, and that was a W. And I think it was good draws of liquidity below as well, and it was a good zone for placing that order. I think shortly after that, I think it went a little bit lower, and then it reversed back. So it was a good trade. And then for some reason, I think here we took a third trade. I think maybe we still had more profit targets that we needed to hit. But we had a V-shape recovered out of the 1-hour BPR gap. Downtrend on all time frames, breaking through the BPR gap once it reversed. 5-minute gap formed, target relative lows. Previous New York level below, only needed a 0.5 risk to reward trade. And I think that ended up securing. Yeah, so my thoughts here was ugly trades, but got the job done. And the more thing I was disappointed on this trading session was my first trade. Was trading on that fucking, like, I genuinely felt like an unprofitable chad, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Like, I don't know. But it is what it is, bro. I mean, I would have been furious if we didn't get the job done, but we ended up switching buys pretty swiftly. It was logical, and second trade and third trade pulled off. As far as that, along with all of these videos, if I haven't already mentioned it, I also started, I think from Tuesday onwards, to take like 5-minute time frame like screenshots of the chart so you can see exactly what happened in the session. I'll be pulling those at random in this video. Wednesday, our bias was 4-hour bearish, all time frames bearish, new day opening gap holding strong with a 4-hour bearish gap right above it as well. Suspect the bearish day for entries would be ideal to see a retrace into the new day opening gap or the 4-hour gap and then follow suit with a bearish trend. First trade was bearish, price swept liquidity above, beautifully inverse out of the 4-hour gap, replica of yesterday, same point of reversal, breaking through the pre-market 50-minute bullish gap, inversed, and then we entered. And then I ended up being partials and break evens. And then second trade, same setup, and that was our evals passed. So I think I put a second screenshot, you can see both. And I was pretty confident on that move. And then that was our evals passed. So that was our evals passed on our Lucid account. So from this point, we are now officially back to funded, and we now have 5 accounts, and we still do. They haven't been taken a trade yet, but we passed our 5 Lucid accounts. Thoughts? Really good patience and sticking to the logical bias. Plenty of times thought about going for longs, but thought bigger picture and spotted a replica of yesterday. And that was good pattern recognition from my side, and that was a W, low key. And yeah, and then post session, and then this point is where I made the executive decision to not trade Thursday and Friday unfunded and focus on passing evals. And I don't know if this is really a good decision. I mean, maybe somebody can share anything in the comment section, but I personally want to get to 10 accounts before I trade my 5 accounts. I don't know, for some reason I just feel like I want to get to 10 and then just trade them in sync rather than having my drawdowns fucked up on one or the other. But maybe I'm screwing up there. But that's one of the observations I had. And the decision I wanted to make was that I wanted to get my evals passed, and then from that point just trade 10 evals, 10 accounts, all copy synced. And then from this point, Thursday, this is where, we ended off the week fucking horribly, bro. Genuinely, like Thursday, we purchased 5 Tradeify accounts. That's the next prop firm I was shooting for, which I think I might change. I need to reflect later today on what my evals going to, because I personally, I don't like passing in 3 days. For me, it fucks up my psychology. I want to pass it in like 2 days max. So I'm going to analyze, and again, a reflection needs to be made there, but we ended up going for Tradeify. Bias, we had a clear 4 hour and a high time frame bearish trend continues. 1 hour BPR gap below formed from New York going into Asia session. 1 hour bullish gap holding strong, Asia to London. Could be an indicator that if broken past, a short opportunity could present itself. Draws of liquidity to both sides, but suspect another bearish day. Once again, prioritizing eval trades first. And then obviously have the optionality to switch to funded if that was the case, and that wasn't the case. So first trade bearish, 15-minute pre-market gap formed and respected, broke past out of the 1 hour bullish gap that was held strong in Asia and London session. 5-minute gap formed, and at that point recap, took too early at 9:40, always manipulation market open. And this is where I started to kind of get a little bit frustrated at myself. I have never took a trade that early, and I took a trade at 9:40 a.m. At market open, and for me, it's just, I don't know why I did that, bro. I've always known that market opens, there's always manipulation sectors. Like, you could see all the confluences for why price might be bearish or why my price might be bullish. But at the end of the day, there's always manipulation, and at the same time, it could just completely switch, and that's what ended up happening. You had all the confluences showing for bearish, and then we got fucked, bro. And I think at that point it reversed. So we got fucked up there. We risked half of our evals, our drawdown, as we do on every trade. Second, spiked up and inversed the 5-minute gap to the upside. Broke through the 15-minute bearish gap, 15-minute V-shaped recovery. At this point, we took partials and break-evens here. We just took a break-even that ended up being partials. Third trade, same setup, accounts blown. So this was where we took the exact same setup. Accounts blown, recap, looking for longs in a clear downtrend bias. Yes, there was key draws of liquidity above, but better to be patient and trade the trend. If swiped, then take the swing. And at this point, there's one thing I will say from my journey so far as a trader. My biases have pretty much been switched bang on, bro. Like, I have a really good accuracy towards where I feel like my bias is. The data proves itself in terms of, like, every time I've made a bias, it really ends up being the case. But then, for example, knowing that was my bias and we're going to be in a clear downtrend, it's just FOMO, bro. It's just FOMO and desperation. I feel like one thing with me with evals, there's a level of desperation that needs to pass them quick as well. And that's what I didn't like about this setup, is like, I'm trying to take longs and I have all the reasons to take longs. We have draws of liquidity above, we have previous session highs all above, ready to be swept. But I should have known in my mind and had an abundant mindset where it was like, okay, cool. That could be the case, but that is not where the trend is following. It is better to take the reversal and take the swing once it swipes liquidity and starts going down to the inevitable downtrend, which I think is exactly what ended up happening. But instead, we need to catch the small move. And I think at that point, just really bad decisions, bro. Like, I really was like, bro, I wasn't proud of it, bro. Recap, I think at that point we blew the accounts, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, that was the first set of evals that we blew. And yeah, and I think one of the lessons I took here, maybe anybody else has this when they trade evals to funded, or one observation I've had is, when it is evals, I don't take A+ setups. So just for reference, if this was on a funded account, I would never take this sort of setup. I just wouldn't, and it wouldn't be a good call, and it wouldn't be an A+ setup, so I wouldn't have taken it. But because it's an eval, for some reason my mind thinks, oh, fuck it. Yeah, it's an eval, let's risk it. So I think an observation I took away from that day was that, yes, it's an eval, but you should put, I don't want to put the exact same importance as a funded account, but you should still take it quite seriously. You shouldn't take it as like a fucking, let's trade against the fucking trend like a fucking jester. Like, let's be on trend, bro. And yeah, we fucked up there, bro. Fourth trade, and this is where, again, went even lower downhill. We reset to fresh accounts. We reversed out of the 15-minute gap. All time frames turned bearish, broke past the 5-minute and the 15-minute gap. Target for relative lows, 1-to-1 risk to reward, and then recap. It was actually a valid setup, and this is the exact, so once price had reversed from that point where we attempted to take longs, this was where and it was inevitable to happen. At this point, we were going bearish. From my side, from my strategy, this was a valid setup. I really didn't mind. And then for the fifth trade, I waited back until price broke past the 15-minute gap. My target was the relative lows and the BPR gap. And I had so much conviction because below BPR gap was also previous session liquidity. So I knew it also had a chance to even go even lower from the point that I had set. And that was a 1 to 2 risk to reward. So objective reached. We covered the loss and we ended the day on a 1K profit for our fresh accounts. But the lesson learned in here was that if we didn't take the retarded fucking trade on the first one at 940, we would have avoided a loss. If we didn't take the second trade and the third trade once we were taking longs and going against our trend, we would have saved accounts. And if we had just followed and stayed patient and followed a good process, the fourth trade would have been a stop loss and we would have passed the fifth trade, which we ended up securing at a 1 to 2 risk to reward. So it really just proved like, bro, like it's just, I'm making so amateur mistake. I made so many amateur mistakes that I'm taking super personally, bro. And it is what it is, lessons learned. But that was a lesson where I could have saved myself a set of evals. And that was the case there. Going into Friday, I had so much things. I mean, I just want to get these trades over. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. Like, honestly, like, I'm sorry if how this video is going, if it's not educational or whatever, but it was genuinely just a rough fucking week, bro. I just want to get this over with and get these recaps done. But going into Friday, there's actually one thing I will say. I did. What was I gonna say? One thing I did do, and I actually realized, and this is one thing I'm going to be applying and testing, but I study a lot of the greats, and I like to study people who are at the top of their fields. One of those people was Novak Djokovic, the tennis player. Novel, I think it's Novel. Fuck, bro, I don't want to be butchering that, bro. It is what it is. But one thing he did, or at least one of his mentors did, that told him, like, I think it was like his tennis coach, was like he would listen to classical music. That's something I'm going to be testing and seeing if that makes an effect on my psychology. But there's one thing I have found out from the classical music I have listened to, is that for me, it puts me in a zen. I'm not going to lie. When I listen to classical music, and I realized Novak Djokovic, I got that, this is why I've started to implement this, but I'm going to start testing it. And for me, my music taste, bro, it's actually fucked up, bro. Like, motherfuckers, you would think I'm like 6 different people if you hear my music taste. Like, bro, I slam Chief Keef, Vibes Cartel, and then all the way, my bias switches to fucking Brazilian funk, to fucking now classical music. It's fucked, bro. But it is what it is. That's one thing I will take away. And I started to do as of Friday, and we're gonna be testing that. But I actually slams, bro. It puts me in a zone where it's like, I don't know, kind of relaxes me. But the bias, as for Friday, and this was just the nail in the coffin, bro, for the fucking week, genuinely. We had 2 bullish 4-hour gaps formed since yesterday. Most recent respected cleanly. Broke structure to the upside on high time frame, forming bullish trend. Key draws of liquidity above, suspect a bullish day, but could well and truly be a bearish day, being the last day of the week and orders leaving the market ahead of the weekend. Now, there was one thing to consider. We also did have the SpaceX IPO. So I was curious to see if that would have made a difference, but I didn't really get a chance to see it because I took my trades before the IPO, went fully live, and I just, at that point, I needed to get off the charts. I was done for the week. And at that point, first trade was, we swept Asia low and London low. We had a V-shaped recovery out of the gap after being broken past. We retraced the prior bearish gap, broke past the other, and we had draws of liquidity above, and then we took a fucking fat L. Second trade was the same setup. This time it was very similar to Thursday where we were trying to take longs, but this time I really did believe we were in a bullish trend, and I wasn't too against of why I was going for longs. But we took the same setup, and at that point we had our accounts blown. Now, one of the recaps I had here as well was I should have stayed patient after the first trade. And what I would have ended up finding was at 11 a.m., We had what ended up happening after the secretary. We started to dump even more, but when we retraced out of it, we took out every single draws of liquidity to the upside that we had drawn out, and it all would have been swept, and we had a good setup. If I had stayed more patient, I would have had that opportunity. But again, it was Friday. It is what it is, and ultimately I put here, this week we got our ass handed to me, bro. Well, I got my ass handed to me, and that's what it was, bro. It was a rough week, and then Saturday, and this was, I would say, the highlight of my week, and this is where we'll end off the video. Yeah, just a really fucking shit week, bro, and one week that I think it's more of a week, if I was to classify it in a category, it would be just keep it stepping, bro. Like, I shouldn't get discouraged over a week like this. I should just keep it going. But one thing I will take away from Saturday, and this was yesterday, last night at like 1 a.m. when I watched this movie. And this movie has now officially, to my ranking, bro, is my number one ranked movie, bro. And that is Whiplash. For those that don't know that movie, get to know it, bro. I genuinely, whenever you're watching this movie, I would put it, whenever you're watching this video, put it in a to-do list. Make sure you watch that movie. And I tend to find, if there was a litmus test that I could propose to people, is that when you watch that movie, if you don't get a fire lit up under your ass, you're not meant for it. You're not meant to be successful, bro. You're not cut out for it. If you watch that movie and you do get your ass and you have a fire lit up under your ass, bro, that's a good sign, bro. Because that movie is just an epitome of excellence. And I had a couple things that I wanted to mention here. Number one, he had a high standard. It's pretty much a movie about a drummer being Neiman and a vicious mentor, a mentor who had such a high standard, who a lot of people might look at as a bad guy. I loved him, bro. And that was Terrence Fletcher. Because one of the things he did is he broke students. He broke students mentally, physically, spiritually. He broke them down. One of his students ended up hanging himself. Pretty fucking deep. But I looked at that and I'm like, that's how you get the best out of people. And I'm going to tie this at the end of, as I mentioned, these points. But the first thing I took away from it was there was such a high standard. They were drumming, and it was pretty much a music band, and it was the number one music school in the country. And it was just such a high standard. Everything from multiple redos to he was a drummer, everything from not being up to par with the tempo. Either he was rushing it or he was dragging it, and just retry after retry after retry until it's perfect. And that for me signified, number one, having a high standard. Another thing, there was just an excellence for winning. There was an excellence for winning for every competition that they partaked in as the band, and specifically this coach and Neiman, the drummer. It was to be number one. There was no option to be second. It was like, we're going in here to win. We are the best. Let's make this shit work. And once again, an observation I took away from that was excellence for winning. Fourth, there was an obsession over greatness. This Neiman guy, bro, was so on point that he wanted to be the best drummer he could be. Motherfucker was practicing and his hands were fucking bleeding mid-drumming, bro, because he was going so hard. An ice bucket right next to him where he would pour his hand to when it would bleed. For me, bro, I looked at that and the lesson I took away from that is obsession over greatness. This guy was obsessed with being number one, with being the best. And he didn't let, no matter what fucking went through his way, what obstacles went through his way, well, no matter what his coach would say, no matter what anybody would say, his parents not believing in him, his family that he was in a family dinner with not believing in him, he kept fucking pushing. And the thing that really tied for me here was, at the end of the movie, Terrence Fletcher ended up being fired. Neiman ended up being expelled by the coach, funny enough. And they were having a drink at a bar, I think it was. It was like a jazz bar. And Terrence Fletcher said that there is no two words more harmful in the English language. And those were good, I think it was good job, as far as I'm not mistaken. Was it good job? Yeah, good job. And then to which Neiman replied to that was, is there a line to which you can discourage your next Charlie Parker? Charlie Parker being, as far as I know, I'm not big of a music guy, but Charlie Parker apparently being one of the best drummers alive. I don't know, bro. And Terrence Fletcher replied, No, because the future Charlie Parker wouldn't be discouraged. And it really just summed up their relationship in the context that he would just break his students down and he would demand so much of them, and it was never a good job. It was always, we need to be up to par, we need to continue going, we need to be continuing to push for excellence. And for me, it was just excellence at its finest. And I ended up, literally after that movie finished, I must have just laid down in my bed just staring at my ceiling from like 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. just in admiration, bro. Like, there's something about me, I purely admire anybody who aspires to achieve excellence in any domain. I don't give a fuck if you're the best drummer in the world. I don't care if you want to be the best fucking pot maker in the world, the fucking best dishwasher, McDonald's manager. I don't give a fuck. And there's one thing I realized, that I truly admire people going for excellence. And the way I took away from this movie is all of those lessons by having such a high standard for yourself, obsessing over greatness, just being psychotic about getting to your goals and getting to your outcome, that it made me realize that no matter how these weeks pan out, good or bad, good P&L, bad P&L, whatever fucking happens in my journey, there's one thing about me, bro, is that I will never stop. And I will always keep pushing, and I will always truly want to be the best in whatever I do, or at least one of the best. And I finished watching that movie, and it really resonated with me a lot, bro. Even the things outside of his drumming classes and outside of his sessions from his family life, from his life outside of fucking the drums, it really resonated with me. And I thought I'd mention it to you guys, because if you're anything like me, bro, you would probably watch that movie and be the exact same, bro. And be amazed by the excellence, by the craft, and by the art. But enough of that. Bit of a long rant. But yeah, bro. Summary, we got this week. We got our ass handed to me, but I will not stop. I won't let that shit phase me. Next week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after. We keep fucking pushing. But aside from that, whoever you're watching this, whenever you're watching this, hope you had a good week. Hope you have a good week. Keep fucking crushing.